What is going on, guys? Welcome to the 5th episode of Catching Up with Dynasty. Today's guest is none other than Yosh Rau of San Diego Dynasty and Field One Paintball. Before we jump into this episode, do me a favor, give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. It really does help. Now let's welcome Yosh. Yosh, thank you for joining us on episode number 5 of Catching Up with Dynasty. It seems to have been a long break. We didn't jump into one of these after the third event, so it's been a while. Getting going, how are you doing, first of all, before we jump down the list of things I've got?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back again. Yeah, you're right. It has been a long break. I mean, I remember I think 4 weeks ago, we were doing like our Dynasty Champions Club Intel session. And I remember telling all of the members that were there, like, man, I'm ready for this break to be over. And that was 4 weeks ago. And we're still, we're still, what, 4 weeks away from the event.
Yeah, I think it was like a 12-week break.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
I think there's a sweet spot. I feel like the first tournaments of the year, we kind of like moved from one to the next, and it felt like it was pretty quick. There was maybe 5 weeks off in between, and 2 of those weekends are, organized team practices. So like you really don't have a lot of time in between, or at least doesn't feel that way. And this one definitely feels extended. It's always like this though. There's always a summer break. It feels a lot like the off season, and it's interesting because a lot of teams and players continue to grind, and they're basically looking to come out of this break more prepared than the other competitors out there. So it's just kind of a different little ripple in the tournament season, but I'm ready to get back into it. I mean, not only do I want to compete, and I look forward to that, but I mean, I just love getting together with the guys and spending time working at it and figuring stuff out.
Yeah, it does definitely drag. Before we jump into what you've been up to, though, let's just, because I didn't get with anybody after the third event, let's just get your overview of that third event this season. Could have set some records, 4 straight wins in a row, but it just didn't turn out the way we wanted it, I guess you could say. Place. How give me what did you take away from that event? What did you think of that event?
I felt like we were well prepared. I felt like the team played pretty well in general. We basically never moved through a tournament without having some extremup close games and some bumps in the road. That's what winning a tournament is about. You have you take up some losses, but they have to come at the right time. Otherwise, you're out of the event, and you have to learn from each one and kind of adjust and figure out, was it a matter of you doing stuff wrong, or the other team just, did some things that you weren't ready for. I felt like we made adjustments pretty well through the event. I mean, it was a fun field to play on. We had a couple good practices leading up to the event. And I mean, at the event itself, honestly, I feel like we got a little lucky with that impact match on Sunday, moving, being down. I think we were down 3 points at one point with not very much time left, and had a pretty substantial comeback. You win a couple of those, and it's typically like good building blocks to keep moving through Sunday. But at the in the end, we stumbled again and weren't able to pull out the magic.
Yeah, and that X Factor game that ended up in an overtime. I feel like, correct? Yeah,
it's close. On Sunday, it's only good teams, and as they usually do, the situations are that much tighter, right? Even if the field doesn't dictate that the score and the pace is going to slow down, you still end up in these situations with high caliber players, and it's only one player or one team is going to come out on top. And X Factor was playing really well. I mean, obviously they went deep and had a great showing in the finals too, even though they didn't end up winning it. They're on point that weekend.
Yeah, no, definitely. Makes you more hungry for the next event?
I think that's the thing you're supposed to say, but like for me, it's pretty steady. Like I don't really look at the last result that we had as a way to find motivation to win. Like we've been at this for a really long time. We've had a lot of success, and I've figured out that you can't just look at the last result and say, well, that's my reason that I'm going to work harder or focus more. We're always trying to keep the big picture in mind, which is, for us, it's winning World Cup, and to do that, you have to give yourself every advantage. So maintaining one of those top 4 seeds so that you can get, I guess it's top 3 seeds, so that you can get, the slightly easier schedule through at World Cup is definitely an important part of it. Winning individual tournaments is also great. I mean, that's what I think drives and motivates every single player out there, because you have a moment there where you can be the best in the world. But we're in it for the long game, as we have been for the last 22 years as a team. And we're always hungry. I mean, the reason that we have the success that we have is that the guys on the team are always looking to push it, always looking to get to the next level, figure it out a little bit better, be one step ahead.
Yeah, no, definitely. And third place still puts you in first place in their series going into.
Yeah, right. It's not a bad result. If you don't win, there's always like these thoughts where, okay, we could have done this a little bit better. Could have, if things had kind of shifted our way here or there, could have gotten past X Factor, could have got into that final game. But yeah, not a bad result at all. And because of how we've done through the year, we're still holding on first place in the series, which is a good place to be. And just keep building to the end of the year.
Yeah. Going back to that long break, I do see that the guys are still putting in work. I've seen Marcelo posting that he's out in SoCal doing things. I've seen Chris is out there most Sundays at his home field. Mike is in Texas. I've seen him posting that he's out there doing that. I did notice that you guys put in some time in Utah. Some of you, I should say, not all the team, but some.
Yeah, I think I mean there's a everybody is putting in what they can, and for some players, I mean, like Chris and Mikey, I mean it doesn't matter, they're out there every weekend. Like they've built that into their routine and they love it, and it shows, right? I mean, they're highly effective. But yeah, when you have a long break like this, it's nice to you can just take whether it's a day or a weekend. I mean, we were fortunate enough to be able to have our own field out in Utah for a couple of days, thanks to Bro Army out there. They got us set up nicely, and Hormesis brought a film crew out there, and we were able to play some legitimate points. And between a bunch of the Dynasty players, we played the dual format that Oliver has been touring with on the Elite 1 versus 1 tour. So it was definitely a good opportunity for us to sharpen up, kind of break up this long period of time, so you kind of like, be in good paintball shape, kind of get a feeling of where you're at.
Yeah, I spoke Archie. I was talking to Archie last week, and he said he goes, Junior, it was full points, one-on-ones. He goes, it was a grind. He said it was good. He said it's just what he needed. And he was really tell the excitement as in his voice as I was talking to him. And I'm like, that's good that he's feeling that he took so much away from it. Right.
That was definitely the feeling while we were there. I mean, it was fun because Hormesis had brought out like a lot of really high end tech in terms of video capture stuff, and they had, you know, some great photographers and videographers out there. So I know that they got a lot of great content. They're working on a number of different film projects, from, you know, social media content to like the Iron Kids documentary and some other stuff. And so that was cool to see how that, I mean, it was like extremely high end, right? So to see people operating those cameras and to understand the capabilities of some of these shots that they can get, but also, I mean, they allowed us, because of the capabilities of the equipment, they allowed us to play full speed, full points. You know, we played against each other in the one-on-one format without really any like technical timeouts or anything like that. And they just, I know they captured a ton of great stuff, but it was, yeah, it was full speed against, you know, great players. So
it wasn't just like meeting up and going through the motions slowly,
right,
so you can get the fake shots. It was just real action. They
right.
could
I know, and it was fun because of that. It made it a fun couple of days, and it's a beautiful part of the country. We're just out there, like kind of on the rangeland of Utah near Salt Lake City, and yeah, it was a good time.
Nice. And then you got Harry, who's pretty much travels playing paintball every single weekend. Is somewhere
Every
else.
weekend he's somewhere. Yeah. I mean, we really do have, we're lucky to have a team of guys who, I mean, and this is kind of the basis for being a professional paintball player. You have to love the game, right? Because it's the game isn't really gonna hit you enough where you're gonna want to engage for anything other than your kind of fanaticism about playing paintball and being around it. And so we've been lucky to have players on the team that kind of exude that love and passion for the game, and that's why Dynasty guys stay sharp.
Nice. So the next up for you, and before we get to the next NXL, you guys, some of you, all of you, going to France for the NXL Europe?
There's a lot of Dynasty players that are going to play either in the USA or the Nations Cup event, and then there's also some guys that are going to play in the actual like NXL Europe event with their teams. So I think we probably have like 80% of our roster going there, which will be cool because it typically, actually, that event usually falls on a practice weekend that we would normally have. Now we get to have, I mean, at least in some limited way, a practice with a lot of the guys on the team together in a tournament format. And then, you know, some of the guys will be playing for, you know, 4 to 6 days out there, with, you know, refs and tournament paint and tournament situations, which is some of the best practice you can get. And it's going to be cool to be able to play for Team USA. That's something I haven't done over there, so that's an honor, and I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to playing with some new teammates in that event as well.
Nice. So who out of the core is playing? Who out of the Dynasty group is playing with USA?
So we've got the old men's division, which you know, the qualifier I think is that you have to be 40 years old. So for our team, it's going to be Ryan, Alex, and I, and we're trying to get Oliver over there to play in that as well.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, he was leaning that way. We'll see. He's gonna get a couple weeks off, I think, after the one-on-one tour has now concluded. And hopefully, you know, he gets enough of a break where he wants to go play again. And then for the USA men's team, it'll be the three of us plus maybe Oliver, and then Christier, Harry, Blake, Marcelo, and Mikey. So I mean, it's a large group of Dynasty players. I think, what does that make? 8 maybe, if Oliver goes.
8 out of the 11, if you can.
Yeah. So I'm really excited for that because it's gonna be an opportunity to play all together again, and you know, on a cool stage.
Yeah, soak up a new experience with the guys, right?
Absolutely. And you're in France, so I mean, it's like there's a new element there that'll be fun. Sounds like we're all going to be staying in the same house together, so should be cool.
Nice, very good. After France, how long is it before practice starts back up for you guys?
So I mean, the guys that are playing in the full France event, they probably fly back on Monday, and then they're flying on Wednesday to San Antonio for an X Factor practice. I think Level will be flying down there to join us as well. So, I mean, just a couple days between the event in France to our practice in San Antonio. We're going to do a 4-day practice there. Should be great. Do some drills by ourselves on one day, and then have two good teams to play against. And
And that
then
will be the layout weekend, correct?
that's the layout weekend. Yeah. So then, as most people know, as soon as the layout weekend is over, you have a couple days at home to refresh, pack, get some work done, and then you're off to the event to start practicing and playing again.
Yeah. So it's going to be as soon as France comes around, it's going to be
It's on. Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, we've since they changed the layout weekends to just one weekend, we've been just like doing a 2-day practice as the first weekend, just kind of warm up. Now we're gonna have a couple days to play. Some guys will play, a lot. So I think we're gonna be, as a unit, pretty sharp having all that time spent together.
Yeah, that'll be really good. Heading into Windy City, then that will be. So
yeah.
You bracket, you draw NYX, ML Kings, Notorious, and Uprising.
Yep.
Give me your thoughts. How's it work for you? Do you, when they announce the teams, when they announce the brackets, do you break it down in your mind? Do you individually? Do you spend much time thinking about them? Do you? How does Yosh?
Not really for my to have anything worked out for myself, or worked out for the team ahead of time, because I mean, my mentality has always been that any team can beat you. So regardless of the name of the team that's in the bracket with you, I mean, you have to show up and you have to play extremely well to rise above all those teams. And especially now, I feel like there's more parity in the league than there ever has been. You get what some people refer to as like these dark horse teams, or like these upsets, but like, I mean, these are happening every event. So at a certain point, I think you stop calling these upsets and you start to realize that all of these teams, I mean, there's probably at least 10 teams now in the pro division that you would expect to make Sunday. Probably that number could go down to 14 teams, where you say like all of these teams have a good chance. And whenever one of those 14 teams doesn't make it, you go, ooh, that's because something went wrong, versus like, oh yeah, didn't expect those guys to make it in. There's only 10 spots on Sunday, including the wild card round. And so, I mean, it's highly competitive, and I look at like New York Extreme has performed very well this season, to where I think anybody that calls that, a fluke, or them getting lucky, or, a flash in the pan is I mean, it's a mistake to look at it that way. They've put up consistent results. They just haven't gotten all the way to the mountaintop, but I mean, they're beating good teams on a consistent basis. And the same can be said for ML Kings, and then you have two hungry teams that are obviously ranked much lower and kind of in the bottom tier, but they've also put up good games against good teams. So yeah, I mean, it's I was looking at the bracket as a whole, all of the brackets that all of the teams are in, and to me, the distribution is probably the most even. At least, my personal opinion, the distribution of teams is probably the most even this tournament coming up than it has been for the past couple events. And that's, some of that is me like adjusting my expectations as I've seen teams play over the first couple of events. And then some of that is, it's the results do speak for themselves. I mean, NYX is a prime example of that.
They've been very consistent, and
yeah, do they deserve to be in that second tier? I mean, yes, they absolutely do, because their placing now over a good amount of events has put them there. So yeah, I think it's going to be, as always, an interesting prelims to watch, and I know there'll be, I know that there's going to be some traditional top 8 teams that struggle to make it. I mean, that's the way it is now. You know, it's just not. There's just not as big of a separation now between, let's say, the top 8 teams and the next 5 or 6 teams below that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's going to be a good event. Really good. I'm excited for it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people tuning in to Go Sports to watch, so that's always good. Yosh, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us today. Do you have anything you want to leave us with?
I just want to say thank you to our sponsors, of course, but especially our Dynasty Champions Club members. They really, they've brought a whole new part of the game to why I love it, and the realization that like there's something extra about showing up to practices and events, being able to see our Champions Club members, make new friends, and feel the love and support. So thank you guys very much.
Yeah, it is always nice to see everybody there. It is a good vibe in the booth, and it's just a good atmosphere, a group of people. I did see that the Champions Club's gifts left yesterday, so people are going to be excited for the next 5 days, all talking about what's coming in the mail. So that's always
absolutely. It's always fun to send those off because there's a buzz, But this month we've got some really great stuff from Hormesis and Field One, and I know we've got a great project month set up here as well. So, yeah, thank you guys.
Do you have any big games coming up with the Champs Club players?
Yeah, actually, they're not going to be till after the Chicago event, but at the end of September, we have a Champs Club event set up with Decay of Nations in Southern California. Champs Club members get a discount. We're going to set up a little headquarters there so we can all get together and hang out for the 2-day event there. That's an awesome big game to play in. There's tons of players, always good weather, and super fun fields at SC Village. And then there's also going to be an event at Paintball Explosion in Chicago. That's the Clowns versus Zombies event. That's also a super fun one. I typically go every year. I just can't go this year, but we're going to have our own staging area for Champs Club members and a few of the team guys there, and that'll be a fun 1-day event.
Nice. Awesome. Well, Yosh, I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Have a great trip in France. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks, Junior. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye. There you have it. A great little catch up with Yosh. Don't forget, guys, if you enjoy these episodes, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next one.